Officially go live here for the Utah Jazz. So the Utah Jazz have officially brought back Mike Conley. Let's throw the camera on me. Let's go. The Utah Jazz have officially brought back Mike Conley, and this morning we had heard that kind of the first free agent signing of the day was Rudy Gay going to the Utah Jazz. So the Jazz land Rudy Gay along with bringing back their own guy, Mike Conley. So we'll discuss a little bit about what that means for the Jazz moving forward. Before we get started on that, subscribe to the channel, like the video, enter the chat here that we're doing on this live stream, comment on the video, all that fun stuff. Would appreciate it. We're making a lot of NBA content, not just free agency, but we're doing trades. We're doing the summer league a little bit. Going to be talking about what kind of goes down there. And yeah, so let's get to it. The Utah Jazz are coming off a season where they had the #1 seed. They lose to the Clippers in the second round. A lot of what they needed to focus on was versatility with their roster, and but the biggest thing that they needed to take care of in the offseason was being able to figure out if they could be able to bring back Mike Conley. That was the biggest thing that they needed to figure out. I got my phone going off here about a signing that we'll talk about in a later video, but yeah, I think ultimately the Jazz have done really solid here within the first 24 hours, less than 24 hours of free agency, bringing in Mike Conley and re-signing him to a deal that is pretty team friendly. For him to be able to get, I believe it is 3-year, it was reported 68, but it also might be 72.5. Maybe that's incentives. But for them to be able to get Mike Conley back is huge. I think he maximizes what this team can do on offense. Last year, he was one of the best plus-minus players. He shot the ball extremely well from three. His pick-and-roll game with Rudy Gobert was just great. And look, him, Donovan, and Rudy being on the court at the same time, along with, I think it was Royce O'Neal. Those four guys being on the court, think what you may have plus minus, but it was incredible. When those guys were on the floor, the Jazz were at the peak of their game. When they were off, especially if one of the big three was missing, like how McConley was missing a lot of the Clipper series, they're not the same team. So, bringing Conley back brings leadership, brings their guy that Utah has coveted for a while. They wanted to trade for him during the season before they ended up trading for him in the offseason. But yeah, it's super interesting on what the Jazz are doing here. They bring back Conley in a great move, and according to the estimations here on our website for that we're using in notradeclause.com, the estimate is hopefully that Conley will have a front-loaded deal that kind of gets smaller over time, and so that will be interesting to see there. Conley, I think they did a really good job bringing back Mike Conley. I think that's a good value for him. I know you worry about the injuries a little bit. You do worry about maybe he falls off just because he's getting older. But ultimately, I do think this is a really good thing for the Utah Jazz to do. And I think they're smart for doing it. And making sure to keep their guy as opposed to lose him. Because if they lost him, the Jazz are probably the biggest losers of free agency in the offseason. If they were to lose Mike Conley, that would be horrible. Because they probably don't get this next guy. Rudy Gay, who is actually teammates with Mike Conley in Memphis for a short period, is headed to the Utah Jazz. So Rudy Gay was rumored, actually. I thought I had heard a report that said that Gay was leaning towards the Lakers and Otto Porter was leaning towards the Nets, and they both end up with different teams. So Porter goes to Golden State, which we'll make a video on, and Rudy Gay lands in Utah. So Utah gets Rudy Gay. He's going to be 30. I think he's going to be 35 going into the season. So he's older, but he's the one thing I forgot about Rudy Gay is that he was really good back in the day when he was in his prime. But Rudy Gay was also a dude who he sports a 7'2" wingspan while he's only 6'8" himself. So long player. He can score a little bit in the mid-range. He's been a great three-point shooter these last few years. He still shows a little spark of athleticism, and I think on defense he's just savvy. He's tough. He's a good leader. He looks like a great teammate. There's that viral video of him slapping DeMarcus Cousins like on the side of the head, and Cousins, like, if anybody else had done that, maybe Cousins goes off on him, but it was Rudy Gay, and like, I guess they have a good relationship. So if you can get along with DeMarcus Cousins, I think you're a good teammate. Rudy Gay adds shooting, adds another forward that they needed, adds length to defense, adds a defensive presence, adds a tough kind of a tough presence for this team, a leader, a guy who's been in the league for a while. So I think it's a great pickup for Utah. And if you look at their kind of the moves that they've made, so they trade back for Jared Butler in the draft, a guy who they had valued in the first as a first round guy. They end up getting him in the second. And while getting 3, if you include the Butler pick, the pick that they made with Butler, they get 3 picks from Memphis, 2 in the future, 1 with Jared Butler. And then they trade away. They had to give up a first round pick, which I don't feel great about. But again, you traded away a first round pick to be able to essentially bring back Conley and sign Rudy Gay and get off the Favors money. So Favors goes to Oklahoma City in their trade. I think that is really good for this team. I'm excited to see what the Jazz are going to look like this year. I think they'll relatively be the same. I think they're going to try. There was a report coming out from the Athletic saying that they're going to try to go get a center, but they have to get him for the veteran minimum. So who is that center? Robin Lopez, I think, just signed with somebody, so probably not him. But yeah, how do the Jazz kind of fill out their roster now? You look at their cap sheet here, and they just look exactly how you want your team to look. Their 3 best players are their 3 highest paid players. Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley. Then their complementary players are making low teens, high teens amount of money. That Clarkson deal is amazing. But Bojan Bogdanovic, Joe Ingles, and Jordan Clarkson are all making, that's combined. That's 25 plus 18. So that's like 38, right? Am I doing my math horribly? 25 plus 18. I'm going to pull out the calculator. 43. 25 plus 18 is 43. So 43 over the next 3 guys. I think that's pretty solid. Their defensive player of Royce O'Neal, who is kind of their grit and grind type of a player, and then Rudy Gay. So, how many players are we going? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's an 8-man rotation, just those 8 guys. So, do they add another piece to the puzzle where they can throw in a center that they like? Reports say that like the whole rift between their GM Dennis Lindsay and their head coach Quinn Snyder. Apparently, it wasn't the greatest relationship there, and apparently they had not been too happy about Quinn Snyder, the coach, was not crazy about Udoka Azubuike being selected in last year's draft. So I don't know if he's the future. They're not bringing back Morgan. They've mentioned that they're probably not bringing back Niang. So that 9th rotational guy, 9th and 10th pieces, is it just Oni or Elijah Hughes? Do they bring back Ursan Ilyasova? I know they like Brantley and Forrest. Then they also have Jared Butler. So I think it would be great if they could add like a center. Preferably maybe a guy who can be a stretch 5. But yeah, I think that would be really solid for them. But they've done some good stuff here. I really like what the Jazz have done. One name, I haven't heard this from anybody. I'm just interested to see where this guy goes, and I think he would be a really good fit with the Jazz. Is Isaiah Hartenstein. He just got done with Cleveland, and he is a 7-foot center who can stretch the floor a little bit, I believe. I think he hit let's see, his effective field goal percentage is 3s. He actually isn't a floor spreader, but he is a interesting guy who's still pretty young. He would be going into a season where he'd be going to be 23 years old. So is that a guy maybe they try to get? I don't know. But anyway, Jazz doing really good here. I'll be making off-season offseason grades when the offseason is like fully complete, because there's still a lot of things that need to happen. Dennis Schroeder hasn't been picked up. DeMar DeRozan, we're hearing reports about he could be in Chicago, or he's meeting with the Clippers. So there's a lot of different things that are going to be moving here. So I'm not going to give grades in this video. I'm just kind of reporting, these two signings and how I feel about them. I think Utah's done really good here. What else can they do to add to the roster? We'll see. I think they're doing really solid with their offseason so far. And yeah, so that will end our stream here for the Jazz. We're going to open up a new one here in a moment. But the Utah Jazz have picked up Mike Conley, re-signed Mike Conley, and have acquired Rudy Gay, and just an absolute very, very good offseason so far for the Jazz. So that will do it for us. We're gonna end the stream. Like the video, comment in the comment section, tell me where what you think about Utah and what the moves the Jazz are making there, and then also subscribe to the channel. So everyone have a good day.